It's a very good afternoon. Welcome again to another edition of the Vault, and I've got two very interesting gentlemen. One from the west, one from the north. You understand? So today, I'm joined in by Chief Svosve. How are you? Welcome to Galaxy Region, Radio Flora.
Thank you, Tafazga. Greetings to all listeners.
And I also have got Dr. Mavhasa. Dr. Mavhasa, welcome to Galaxy Region, Radio Flora.
Welcome, Nams. Welcome, Zimbabwe, and welcome, Chief Svosve. Mavhasa.
So, gentlemen, we want to look at the state of things that are happening in Zimbabwe. So we're going to touch on a lot of topics. As we go along. I want your comments, your views. To understand what's your views and what is your thinking. About things that are happening in Zimbabwe. It's always good to have another opinion and view and analysis from people on the other side of the Limpopo. So let's first start off with the issue of, let's say, Dr. Mavhasa, in just a minute, what's your take on the current state of Zimbabwe right now? In just a minute to start off. What would you say?
Thank you very much. At the moment, the current of Zimbabwe is not in any way disturbed. The situation is fine. It's quite okay. Yes, there are rumors flying all over around, which is quite a wishful thinking of many. There is no boiling or commotion within ZANU-PF. It is as united as ever. And therefore, our situation is quite normal and quite sober. Yes, we have one or two dissenting voices from members. In my minute, I would say we are okay at the moment. There's nothing to be worried about.
Okay. Although the question was, what is the state of your own view on the state of Zimbabwe, not the state of ZANU-PF. Anyway, Chief Svosve, what is your own view on the state of Zimbabwe at the moment?
It's a sad state, a very sorry state. People are suffering more than they were 5 years ago, 10 years ago. In fact, this is the worst period that we are going through. And even the people in ZANU-PF are feeling it. As we'll discuss, everyone is feeling the heat. The suffering is intensifying. People don't have jobs. Those that are having jobs are not being rewarded. As you saw the nurses demonstrating, it just shows that the state of the nation is bad. It's terrible.
Okay. So now let's go with our agenda. Let's start off the issue of ED 2030, because it seems to be the thing at the moment in heating up things. Dr. Mavhasa, you're from ZANU-PF, and this ED 2030 has started off within ZANU-PF. It seems that there's like two factions within ZANU-PF. What's this ED 2030 agenda? And where do we stand with this ED 2030 thing?
Okay, to start with, let us understand the campaign behind ED 2030. Those campaigning for the 2030, they are simply saying, can the president be given 2 more years to finish the projects he has started? They've come up with a list of projects, and they are saying they are not going to force people to accept the 2-year extension. They are simply going to put it in parliament and vote. And interestingly, even though you have said it started within ZANU-PF, but the ED 2030 mantra started within the parliament. That means within both parties, ZANU-PF and the opposition. And we have seen actually 90% of the opposition MPs are going in their numbers to the president's farm and urging him to stay on until 2030. The force behind it, it's not that they want to change the term of the presidential term. No, they simply want, or they're simply asking the president to extend from 2020 to 2030. But I haven't finished. I've given one answer.
I want to give you a follow-up question. The follow-up question then comes to say to me, the people were supposed to give him a term extension as Zimbabweans, not parliament. You understand? So the Zimbabweans have to be involved, because that's the constitution says only until 2028, not until 2030. Number one. So whatever the case may be, he shouldn't be asking from Parliament, but he should be asking from the citizens, right? Then number two is if you are a president or if you're a leader, you know you've got 2 terms which are ending at such a time. You understand? He was supposed to do his whatever project he started to know that my term ends within such a time frame. You understand? So I need to do this project was what about after in 2029 he starts another project and he says I'm going to end this project again in 2036. It doesn't make sense. So just finish up your answer. Then we'll hear from Cheif.
Yeah, let me respond to what you have said. Firstly, where you are a bit mistaken. It is not the president who is asking for a 2-year extension. It is the parliament. And then the party supports what the parliament is saying. So it is the party. And the party is not a standalone entity. The party is the people. So it is the people who are asking for his extension. And again, when we speak of parliament, in case you had forgotten, the parliament, the parliamentarians represent each and every Zimbabwean from each and every constituency. I am not saying that we need to extend by 2 years. I'm simply telling you what is on the ground. But what you must be pleased to know is that the democratic colors of ZANU-PF are at play in the moment, because there are some within the party who are actually, and rightfully so, saying there is no way we can extend the president's time by 2 years, and because there is nothing which can be done in 2 years which cannot be done in 10 years. And that is the argument. But however, when you look at it, it is not the presidential term which is being asked to be extended. It is the time of the president in the office and the time of parliament in the office. So it is the parliamentary, presidential, senatorial, and even the local government.
But Mr. Mavhasa, you cannot separate those 2 things, you understand? Because you can say the president, we're asking him to give him 2 more terms. If the constitution says 2028, it's 2028. So it's not an issue of saying it's not the president who's asking, it's the project. No. If the constitution says 2028, it's 2028, his term is finished.
Yes.
I'm giving you 30 seconds to answer that one. So that
from 2028 to 2030, he is not asking for the extension of the term. He is simply, he is not asking for anything. It is the people who are requesting him to stay 2 more years, to suspend the election. But that does not mean that after that, it will be a precedent. No, it's only for now and for this time. And this is what they are asking. Okay. And this which is being asked, it's not being asked. The whole party or the people of Zimbabwe are not in full agreement. That's why we are having people having their own views.
Okay, Dr. Mavhasa, it's okay. Cheif, ED 2030 mantra. What's your take? What's your view?
Right, and you have to give me my full 2 minutes.
I will. Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. And first of all, I want to correct what Dr. Mavhasa said. He is lying through his teeth. The 2030 mantra did not start in Parliament. It was started by people, by a certain cabal within ZANU-PF, and that cabal is made up of people that are close to President, to Mr. Mnangagwa. Those people that are benefiting from the looting, and they don't want the looting to stop. They want the looting to continue. And those are the people that started saying Mr. Mnangagwa must extend his term. And then that was taken to the ZANU-PF Congress in Bulawayo. And then from Bulawayo, that's when it was discussed or talked about in Parliament. So it didn't start in Parliament. That's a complete lie. And then the 2030 mantra is you are putting it. It's illegal, very illegal. Mr. Mnangagwa is supposed to serve his illegal 2 terms. I say illegal because we know that he never won elections. He stole the election, and after that he is supposed to go. There is nothing that he has done in the past 2 terms that justifies an extension. And the people of Zimbabwe, everyone, even Dr. Mavhasa, because he's a lawyer, he knows that the 2030 mantra should not be done. it is illegal. It means breaking the constitution. Where Mr. Mnangagwa is calling himself a constitutionalist, he dances, he claps hands, while the people within him, his friends, are trying to bastardize the Zimbabwean constitution. That's unacceptable.
Okay, Chief. Dr. Mavhasa, back to you. Now let's have this whole follow up. So there's the issue whereby the constitution clearly states that if the president is going to extend, if you're going to do a presidential term extension, there has to be a referendum. So Parliament cannot just vote alone and say, this is what's going to be happening. And then, but the other question, Dr. Mavhasa, don't you think this was the best time for Zimbabwe, for President Mnangagwa, for ZANU-PF, to really tell Zimbabweans that we are democratic and we want to serve? Because we had Mugabe rule for over 42 years. Mugabe left. Then President Mnangagwa came through. So we would have thought that since we've never had a change of leadership, he was going to do the goodwill thing to say, I've served my 2 terms and let me finish. Don't you think people would have respected him to go to serve his 2 terms in a peaceful manner, so that whoever comes after him knows that he came, he did the correct thing, and he sets a good a good presidency going forward? Don't you think so?
The president has already set good precedents. He actually says clearly he is a constitutionalist. He did not say, and he is not campaigning for overstaying in the office, not even by 1 minute. He says when his time comes, he will go. 3 weeks ago, he actually called a press conference where he says, if there are any people who are going to persuade him to remain in the office, he will persuade the persuaders not to persuade him. So this issue we are talking about is that there are people who know very well and who accept, as Chief Svosve does, that the president of Zimbabwe, Comrade Emmerson Mnangagwa, has been working tirelessly and very, very hard to save his people, to save his country, and he has done a lot of achievements in the last 6-7 years he has been in the office. And therefore, people having seen what he has done, they are actually urging him, asking him, begging him, campaigning for him to take 2 more years. You know, with the way the president has worked, 1 more day in the office to people, it's a perfect thing.
Dr. Mavhasa, just to end up on this topic, I asked you a question which is simple to say. Zimbabwe for 42 years, we had 1 leader. President Mnangagwa came through. He's got this opportunity to say, guys, I'm going to be a constitutionalist. I'm going to serve 2 terms and go. Him as a president, if he decides to declare today that anybody who's going to sit 2030 or say this and that, you know, he's got all the presidential powers to use against that, but he leaves it going and then it leaves Zimbabweans confused, because as a leader, you can literally say to people, this is not going to work and I'm not going to do this, because at the end of the day, the same people who are doing that are the same people. It's like the cabal that last time saying when Mugabe was refused, they say remove the criminals around the president. But he is also right now surrounded, it seems he's also surrounded with too many criminals around him. You know, so just to end of this conversation on the ED 2030, why can't President Mnangagwa just come and say, I'm not going to step down, and I'm not going to say this, you understand? You understand? He takes his presidential powers, you understand, and solves this issue once and for all. He steps down and people have so much respect for him.
No, you that's what I'm saying. You are not understanding the whole issue. The president had never said he wants to stay beyond 2028.
But I said, Dr. Mavhasa, he is saying something in the media, but he's allowing people again to go around saying, it is 2030. I'm Mnangagwa office. So I'm saying, him as a leader, he's got all the power to stop all these shenanigans and circuses happening as a leader. You know,
the president is a democratic figure. He does not have to stop people from saying what they want, but he can say what he wants. And what does he want? He said, I want to leave office after 2028. He did not say it once. He said it more than 3 or 4 times. What is happening now in Zimbabwe it's being said on social media. There has been no official announcement that the president will be there after 2028. And after all, if that is to be done, if there is going to be an extension of the term, there will be a referendum, there will be voting to be done. If there is no a referendum to be done, if it's only going to extend the office and not the term,
all right.
so the president then does not need to go for the referendum. You just have to go into parliament, which already we have passed.
All right. Chief Svosve, just to conclude on this one, don't you think President Mnangagwa would have done a good thing to just say, after 2028, I've served my 2 terms, and would have set a very good record for the country moving forward? 2, when President Mugabe was removed, and said, we're all happy thinking that let's see how the country will roll in terms of changing of leaders. Because the moment this term extension happens, everybody else who's going to be the president of Zimbabwe is going to do the same thing, to say, I also want a term extension. I have projects running. What's your comment on that one, Chief?
I can't even talk about anything good, Tafadzwa, because nothing good comes out of out of that man, out of Mr. Mnangagwa. Right now, just like Dr. Mavhasa, he is lying. Both Mavhasa and Mr. Mnangagwa are lying to the people of Zimbabwe. They are taking the people of Zimbabwe for granted. He's saying that Mr. Mnangagwa doesn't want 2030 and he can't stop people from doing what they're doing. But we know that over 50 people in ZANU-PF were suspended because they are against the 2030 mantra. Why are those people being suspended? And Mr. Mnangagwa, had someone, a senior ZANU-PF official, saying we are going to tear away the constitution and rewrite it. How can he allow a senior officer within ZANU-PF to tear apart the constitution of the land? So we can see that he's not being sincere with the people of Zimbabwe. He wants 2030, but as Zimbabweans will not allow him to do 2030 because he doesn't deserve it. He has not done anything that shows that he is going to do any better in those 2 years.
Okay, Chief, let's move on to the next question. So there is something that is currently burning, and there's this issue of the 31st March. Some are calling it the Geza Revolution. Some are calling it it's time for President Mnangagwa to go. You understand? We've seen cause of a lot of things happening to say on such a day there's going to be a march, a protest, and everything. You understand? But these things have never been successful. So for starters, my question is asking that, as opposition, are you going to be supporting this 31st so-called march and protest? 2, do you think Zimbabweans are ready to participate?
Right. Very long question, very loaded question. Are we ready to participate? We are ready to participate as citizens because for once, the war veterans are saying the same things that we've been saying for the past 20 years, that ZANU-PF is corrupt, that Zimbabwe is on its knees, not because of sanctions, but because of the massive looting that we are seeing today. They are acknowledging what we have always been saying. They are now saying what the citizens have been saying all this time. So yes, the opposition is the people of Zimbabwe. The opposition is the citizens of Zimbabwe, and we are not happy with the performance of Mr. Mnangagwa. We are not happy with the looting. We are not happy with the state of the country as of now. So in my personal opinion, I would say every Zimbabwean should go out on the 31st and march. Of course, we have been talking to the war veterans themselves. They have come to our platforms, and we have told them candidly that we do not want to be used or abused the way we were abused in 2017, that we march together, and then after we have taken over the country, they start saying, Chinu Chedu, this is ours. We have told them in no uncertain terms that whatever they are doing, it must be for the people of Zimbabwe. If they do decide to say Chinu Chedu after we have marched together, we will not leave the streets as the people of Zimbabwe. We will continue the march, we will continue the protest until our demands are met, because what we want, Tafazwa, in Zimbabwe, what is needed in Zimbabwe are free, fair, and credible elections. And that's what we'll be demanding when we march.
Okay, thank you, Cheif. Dr. Mavhasa, the so-called Geza Revolution, so-called the 31st March protest, you're from ZANU-PF. Bless Geza was in ZANU-PF. He was literally expelled from ZANU-PF. And this is happening. What's your take? What's your opinion? What's your view? Are you guys going to support? Are you in support of this? Are you in support of this? And if you're not, why not?
The first question is, if you say, are you guys, do you refer to ZANU-PF or do you refer to me in person?
No, I'm referring to you in person.
I'll tell you one thing. We do have a sitting president who represents ZANU-PF and the whole country. We do have a member of the Central Committee who had his own issues, which he raised in his own way. But what I can tell you is that ZANU-PF is a way of dealing with complaints within itself. We have got the cells, we have the districts, the province, and we have got the Central Committee, Politburo, and all those. If there have been complaints which were genuine, Comrade Geza would take them through the channels, and he knows that.
But maybe, Dr. Mavhasa, maybe he tried to go through those channels, and he saw that it's not working.
Unfortunately, he did not say that. But however, let me finish to answer the question. Coming to the 31st of March, it is entirely a right of a Zimbabwean to demonstrate if there's something to demonstrate for, as long as they follow the law. If the demonstration is allowed by the police or by the powers that be, then that should go ahead. There's nothing to stop it. But we cannot say we support or we don't support. It is an individual decision, and it has not been called by ZANU-PF. It has been called by an expelled member of ZANU-PF, and therefore the purpose of the demonstration has not been put out clearly. And is it to remove the government? Is it to remove corruption? Is it to create jobs? What is it for? So far, it has not been explained. And therefore, we sit here and pray that Zimbabwe remains peaceful. We need to take a peaceful stance as Zimbabweans. We must never allow our country to degenerate into chaos simply because somebody is a signal he wants to show and he does not want to show. But the reality of the matter is Zimbabwe is for Zimbabweans, and we are the Zimbabweans. We make our decisions. So far, the majority of Zimbabweans are ZANU-PF and are not going to be on the streets doing anything. If they need a change within the party, we have got procedures to follow within the party. And those procedures have not been followed yet, and therefore will not encourage anyone to jump the gun and do things which are not procedural. ZANU-PF is one of the best organized party in the whole world, and it is the most democratic party in Africa, and therefore there is no democratic things which has been not done by ZANU-PF. And what's happening now, these demonstrations, these talks by Comrade Geza and others, it is a proof and a sign of democracy within ZANU-PF.
Okay, so I'm talking to Chief Svosve, and who's based in the US, and I'm also talking to Dr. Mavhasa, who's based in the UK, and we're looking at the state of Zimbabwe on the Vault here on your two stations, Galaxy Radio and Radio Flora. We do a simulcast each and every Sunday, and we bring different guests to be talking on different topics. So, Chief, let's talk about the opposition. Do we have an opposition in Zimbabwe? Where is the opposition? And if it is there, what is it doing? If it is not there, when are we most likely to see an opposition? Because as long as there's no opposition, there's nothing. ZANU-PF is in the driving seat.
I don't know how you want me to answer that question, because I am a member of the opposition. I am part of the Democratic Alternative, and I'm here doing a part of the work that an opposition member is supposed to be doing. And I can also tell you that
just
the
a follow-up.
opposition...
If you say opposition, which was there's no everyone will say which is which opposition party is there? You're in opposition, but which party?
The opposition is not in the name, Tafadzwa. The opposition is the people of Zimbabwe. It is the citizens of Zimbabwe. Right now, we are seeing Comrade Geza is reaching out to the opposition, who are the citizens, because he knows that his march will not be successful without the citizens of Zimbabwe, without the opposition in Zimbabwe. The name is just a name. But the opposition is in existence, and we continue to fight for the issues of the people, and that's the reason why we are saying the people of Zimbabwe should join the 31st of March, so that we get rid of Mr. Mnangagwa and his looting cabal.
Just to make a follow-up, if you look at ZANU-PF, it's got a president, it's got a vice president, it's got structures. So whatever they want to do, because of the structures, things are well organized. But if we just say we've got an opposition, there's no which leader, where the structures, where's the organization? If somebody has got an issue that needs to be addressed, where do they go to say, guys, I want to talk to the opposition? That's what I'm trying to understand. Because as we sit here and we have this discussion, there is no clear opposition at all. I was just having a conversation with some people almost about 2-3 hours ago, and I said to them, it's so shameful that all so-called opposition leaders, ever since the elections, they are nowhere to be found. If you invite them for any interviews, they send spokespeople or they're just issuing press statements. So the question is, where is that who's leading the opposition? Where and how?
Tavato, I can't speak for many or for other opposition parties, because I know that there are over 100.
The one you represent.
There are over 100 opposition parties. There are over 100 registered opposition parties in Zimbabwe. I will speak for the one that I belong to.
Which one is that one, Chief? Which one is that one?
Triple C.
Okay.
That is not. Now you have to allow me to qualify this.
Yes.
Triple C.
Yeah.
That is being administered by Senator Timber. Senator Timber is the administrator of that political movement, not Shabangu, not Welshman Ngube. The people of Zimbabwe know what is happening, that President Chamisa resigned from Triple C, not from politics.
No. We're not talking about President Chamisa. We're just talking about Triple C. We're just talking about Triple C. So if you're saying the administrator is Senator Timber, but who is the leader or president of that Triple C? That Senator Timber is administrator.
He is the leader right now. He is the leader right now.
Okay.
He is if you're an administrator, you are leading the party. It's you guys. You want something that is structured along the lines of ZANU-PF. You want us to have structures like ZANU-PF. We know we have been in this struggle for the longest time. We know what ZANU-PF does in terms of infiltration, and we are doing things our way, because you are the same people that say, if you continue to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, you are an idiot. We are doing things differently right now. The opposition is there. The opposition is lively. The opposition is doing Chief, what it is supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah, just to close up on that one. So you see, the thing is, we saw the same thing that you're saying, that you want to do things differently in these past elections. We all heard these terms, new terms, ambiguity strategy, on this. All those things never worked. The reality of the case and of these things is there are certain things that no matter what you do, there are things that you can never do differently. You need to have an organizational structure. For an organization to move or company, it needs an organizational structure. I don't think Zimbabweans are saying, have your structures, which are like ZANU-PF, but we're saying, let's have structures, a proper structure, so that we know this one is handling this and this one is dealing with this. Because we've seen these things already, and it has never worked. So people now are now asking, where are we going? I'm just giving you 30 seconds to respond.
I don't know what you are saying, what you mean when you say we are not getting anything, we didn't do anything after 2023, and that nothing is working. Everything is working, and that's the reason why, even with that ambiguity that you're talking about, that's why we won the election. You know, Triple C, President Chamisa won that election hands down, and ZANU-PF had to resort to stealing the election, to rigging the election. That's why we don't even have numbers even today. You know, they changed numbers, those election numbers, so many times until they just came up with a random number and said Mr. Mnangagwa has won the election.
Chief, your 30 seconds is up.
If strategic ambiguity did not work, why did ZANU-PF resort to rigging the election?
Your 30 seconds is up, so that we move. Dr. Mavhasa, what's your view? Do we have an opposition in Zimbabwe? If it's there, ZANU-PF is always blamed that it is the one that always infiltrates the opposition. What's your take? What's your view?
The opposition is normally a political entity meant to oppose the ruling party, either whichever is the ruling party. The one which is not ruling is the opposition. Yes, we do have opposition. We've got opposing views in Zimbabwe. As of being infiltrated by ZANU-PF, it's laughable for two reasons. Yes, when you start an opposition party, you have not started a church. It is a fight, but it's a political fight. Not a physical fight, not a gun blazing, but fighting of ideologies, strategies. If your strategy is weak, such that it can be infiltrated, it can be moved up and down, or it can be turned into ambiguity, and then the ambiguity makes you resign, and then it brings you some few puppets and people like the Cheif here, who would say, I'm in opposition, but not in opposition. It simply means Zimbabwe have got some confused entity of people calling themselves oppositions. These are the very people who are actually coming behind the noise that Zimbabwe should have a demonstration that Comrade Mnangagwa must go. All this is the work of the opposition. So the opposition in Zimbabwe are the anti-development people, the anti-peace, the people who do not like their own country, the people who hate so much the country that will go around asking for sanctions against their country. We do not have an opposition. It's a pity, because we need an opposition. Who stand up and tell us we are wrong. Just one second. The president of Zimbabwe, Comrade Mnangagwa, says, and I quote, we are yearning for an opposition which can tell us where we are wrong so that we can correct. We cannot run a country without somebody.
Dr. Mavhasa. Okay, Dr. Mavhasa, thank you very much. I've given you enough time to articulate that. And then, Cheif, let's get into one of the latest things that have also happened this week. America issued, I think it was 44 countries on a list of they will be putting travel bans on them. There's countries that have been put on the red line, some on the orange line, and some on the yellow line. And we saw Zimbabwe being also put in the yellow line. And if I'm understanding correctly, it says within the 60 days, if the country does not address certain immigration issues and certain policies, Zimbabweans would also be Zimbabweans will be banned to travel to America. You understand? What's your take on that stance?
America is doing what any country should be doing, putting America first, protecting Americans, and making sure that nothing happens to the beautiful country of America. Zimbabwe was told to do certain things, like making sure that its passport system works, because the Americans have discovered that the Zimbabwean officials are selling passports to people that may end up harming Americans. And they want to know what the Zimbabwean government is doing about that. They also want the Zimbabwean government to give information, travel information, or to share travel information like all the other countries do. And Zimbabwe has not done that. Unfortunately, if they don't comply, then there will definitely be consequences. We may see certain visas or a number of visas being restricted or actually being taken off as a way of forcing Zimbabwe to comply, to do the right thing. It's the same thing as they've been doing with sanctions. They will just be telling Zimbabwe that please put your house in order, stop killing people, stop abusing your own people, stop looting, or else we'll do this. It's the same thing that they're doing right now.
Okay, Dr. Mavhasa, what's your comment again on the same issue of Zimbabwe being put in the yellow zone by America?
Yeah, actually, it's unfortunate that we do not have a say over what America decides to do with its own policies and its own rules and regulations. And but the only unfortunate thing is that America is setting up a bar, wanting to change the way we run our country in order to be allowed to visit them. Zimbabwe cannot change what it is to please America, and the Americans should forget clearly that we cannot be recolonized again. We have gone through this before. We are under Zidera, and America is the only country which has been putting us in economic abyss for a long time. And therefore they can do what they want. They can ban us from traveling and anything if they wish, but Zimbabwe will be putting Zimbabwe first and will do what is good for our country and not what is good for America.
Okay, so let's let's move on. Let's move on to maybe something positive, in my own view. So also this week we saw Kirsty Coventry winning an election to be the IOC president, the first female, first African, and the first young person to get to that position. Cheif, what's your take on her win to be the next IOC president?
It's a good thing for the country. I congratulated her. I saw President Chamisa also congratulating her. It's something that is good for our country. IOC is a very big position. Olympics, as you know, are the biggest sporting event in the world. So it's an honor that Kirsty Coventry has been made. Right. Yeah. So let me finish.
So Cheif,
let me finish. Let me finish.
Cheif, the question was just to asking about the Kirsty Coventry being nominated to the IOC presidency. You can take it from there.
Yes, and I had said we congratulate her for making the country proud, and I was saying, however, Zimbabweans will not forget what Kirsty Coventry did in Zimbabwe or presided over. We love her as a sports person, as our swimmer who won so many Olympic gold medals. But I can tell you, Tafadzwa, people were not happy with her performance as Minister of Sports. She did not do anything in as far as sports is concerned in Zimbabwe. Look now, Zimbabwe was playing yesterday in another country. We don't even have grounds. We don't have stadiums that are approved by the World Governing Board, FIFA, or even by our own CAF. We have to go and play our home games in South Africa and other countries. And we have a war minister of sport who has been there since 2018. So, yes, she has been promoted. Yes, she has done the country proud. But we are not happy with her performance as Minister of Sports in Zimbabwe.
Dr. Mavhasa, what's your comment and what's your view on Kirsty Coventry being elected to be the new IOC president?
I'm so afraid that I do agree with Chief Svosve for the first time in his life and in my life. Yes, we do congratulate the minister for being appointed and elected the president of IOC. We just pray that Zimbabwe will not be embarrassed by seeing that one day or the other Olympics will have no home ground to play and Olympics will have no stadiums to use, and then the blame will come back on us as a country because it's our person leading it. Leaders should lead by example. The example shown by Minister Coventry has been appalling. disappointing, depressing, and totally flabbergasting. And therefore, if I'm to rate her out of 100, she had scored a staggering 0% on her efforts in Zimbabwe and sports. And therefore, I even heard yesterday, the president was even surprised that we had not finished to just make our stadium what is required by FIFA for us to have our home stadiums. And we have people
Dr. Mavhasa,
again.
was he surprised or he was actually shocked to learn that we've got no stadium to even play? You know,
he was shocked.
Exactly.
He was shocked.
Yeah.
And I would say in conclusion, and I'm going to be very blatant here, we do have people like Comrade Chivayo and Comrade Tungwarara who go around splashing money. I don't understand. Probably they'd never seen football in their lives. These are people who are supposed to come up and say, we are now going to help the stadium and have it revamped, rehabilitated to the level wanted, or and even do our Gwanzura Stadium, our Rufaro Stadium. None of our stadium, even Babafield Stadium, if these guys just flashing money on other things. Our priorities, the priorities of our rich Zimbabweans is misplaced. And it is very embarrassing that we have people like that brushing shoulders with the powers. I think by appointing Kesti as the president of IOM, the Zimbabweans, when we look from our spectacles, I think we should find points to learn that, yes, the world has got confidence in Zimbabwe sports.
Okay.
We need to prove ourselves. We need to do something better.
Dr. Mas, just to add up a follow-up question. If Scott Sakupwanya, Walter Magaya, Kudakwashita Gwirei, William Chivayo, and all these other guys came together and said, guys, let's give 1 or 2 for stadium a great uplift so that we have stadiums to play in. Don't you think that could be a positive thing? And if it's going to be a positive thing, who is to bring these gentlemen together and say, guys, let's do suppose all of them seem to have a passion in football, some one way or the other. But how then do we bring the gentlemen together and say, gentlemen, we as Zimbabweans, we love this beautiful game for Zimbabweans. Let's try and put our heads together, resources together, investments and partners together to just do this for our nation.
When we finish this recording, I would ask for the link. I would send this recording directly to Comrade Tagwirei, to Jivayo, and to Magaya. I've got their numbers. Yes, and I would say it again without fear or without favor, that the gentlemen, with all the monies they are swimming in, they're an embarrassment if we put our stadiums as their backgrounds. It is really disappointing. Yes, Magaya built his own stadium, and Scott Sakupwanya built his own stadium, but this shows the selfishness in their thinking. They built their own for their own name, but they should do something for the sake of the country, for the state. And Comrade Chivayo rewards people with millions of dollars for dancing, for jumping up, for looking at him, for calling him boss. He could do a better everlasting legacy by putting that 1 million in a stadium, in Gwanzura Stadium or in Rufaro, if he thinks that national sports stadium is too big, or Babafield, or one of these small towns, so that at least we can have one ground which reaches the threshold of the FIFA and of the FIFA ground conditions.
Okay, Chief, you've heard my ask. If we bring this so-called billionaires together, first and foremost, who's to bring them together? Wouldn't be a good idea if these guys come together just to say, we are Zimbabweans and we're going to do this for Zimbabwe?
Yeah, firstly, let me congratulate Mr. Mavhasa for finally speaking like a sober person, and saying the right things that he's supposed to be saying every day and agreeing with Chief Svosve every day. That's what you need to be doing. And but unfortunately, Tafadzwa, I know he castigated what's her name? Kesti Coventry. But he forgot to castigate the boss because the Kesti Coventry reports to Mr. Mnangagwa. And Mr. Mnangagwa actually rewarded Kesti Coventry after the first term and gave her back the job in 2023, when he knew that he was not, Case Coventry was not performing well. So Mr. Mnangagwa, we just see here that he's not a leader. He doesn't deserve where he is right now. He doesn't deserve the presidency. He's presiding over a government that is failing to provide for its nation. And going to your question, it comes back again to Mr. Mnangagwa, because we don't have to be relying on individuals, Tafazwa, for them to build stadiums. We have a government, we have a ministry, and we as a nation have resources. We have all the resources that should, be making Zimbabwe a first world country. But the resources are being misused. That's why we have Chivayo. That's why we have Tagwire, people that are being given contracts that are just getting everything that they want directly from Mr. Mnangagwa. The money, the money that we generate from our resources should be going into our reserve bank and should be used to develop the nation. But all the money from our resources is going into a few corrupt individuals. So it's unfortunate. Now Dr. Mavhasa comes here and says he wants to speak to so and so. It shouldn't be like that. It means we are mismanaging the country. Mr. Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF are mismanaging the country to the effect that we don't have stadiums today.
Cheif and Dr. Mavhasa, time is never enough, and time is never our friend. But in conclusion, I'm going to give you all 2 minutes, you understand, just to give your comment and your view and opinion on all the things that we've discussed in conclusion. So Dr. Mavhasa, I'm going to start off with you. I want to give you 2 minutes uninterrupted to say to just give you all view on everything that we've touched about and the other things that we've never touched in conclusion to this interview.
Thank you very much, boss. I wanted to start by saying Chief Svosve is mistaken in one thing. When we said I would love to speak to Comrade Tagwire, Comrade or Prophet Magaya, and Comrade Scott, these are not government officials, and therefore I'm not speaking to them on government capacity. I'll be speaking to them on their individual levels to ask if they can assist, because our ministry has failed to help and to develop our stadiums. So the issue of sports and stadiums in Zimbabwe, it's a very sad issue, and it is an issue where we as Zimbabweans have to come together and actually make. The president had promised yesterday in an interview.
Sorry, Dr. Mavhasa, just to interrupt you, but also my understanding is I understand that Kudakwashi Tagwire had also sponsored some chairs for the National Sports Stadium, those bucket seats.
Yes, but sponsoring one shoe does not make it's a complete dressing. Why doesn't it do everything? I know Kudakwashi Tagwire had actually offered to revamp Rufaro Stadium, and the Triple C sponsored council led by the Mayor Mafume has refused to accept the offer for their reasons. Actually, it was Gwandura Stadium, not Rufaro Stadium. Triple C refused. For whatever reason they refused, we still don't have Gwandura Stadium. Triple C, after refusing, we've realized that they've siphoned millions and millions of dollars from the council. It's a topic for another day. But I was going to come again to the point that you see, what is happening in Zimbabwe now, it is a positive thing. The fact that there are people coming up saying things like that, we should stop corruption, we should go on the street, we should behead in whatever we are saying, it is a good thing. Why is it a good thing? It shows the world, it shows you, it shows everybody with an ear that Zimbabwe is a democratic country. Yes, one point we had not talked about, and I'm surprised why you forgot about it, is the incarceration of the journalist Blessed Mhlanga. I love ZANU-PF to bits, and I love my government, but this was an error and it was wrong. Unfortunately, our judges are rubber stamping the wrong thing. We could not arrest a journalist as a mere worker for a production. He is not an editor. He is just a journalist. And this arrest and his incarceration and his refusal of bail is totally uncalled for. And it's giving us as a country a very bad name. And I think probably those who are hearing and those who would hear and those who will be engaging, we will be engaging after this program would look into it and see to it that we have to save our name from being tarnished. Our name is being dragged into mud because of one or two overzealous people. Seriously,
30 more seconds.
Yes, in my 30 seconds, Tafatswa, I would ask for 2 more seconds because the issue of Blessed Mhlanga it makes me bleed. Because we, as Zimbabweans, we had moved away from an issue of torturing, persecuting journalists or people who speak freely. And this, we are going back to the dark ages. And we pray that we must put our lights on and go back on track because we Zimbabweans are a democratic people, peace-loving people. And finally, the 31st of March demonstration.
Just 10 seconds.
Yes. I would simply say, yes, it is a sign of a democratic cause by Zimbabweans, but it must not be taken as a way of violence or removing a government. It must be a way of showing where the government must correct.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mavhasa. Cheif, it's your time. Your 2 minutes
I've never
talk
seen,
about everything that we've spoken about.
I've never seen Dr. Mavhasa so sensible. And I congratulate you, Mzukuru wangu. You should keep it up. This is the way a human being should be speaking. Don't support things that shouldn't be supported. Don't defend things that are indefensible. You know, the arrest of Blessed Mhlanga, and now we just heard that DJ Ola has also been arrested. You know, that's not a democratic country like what Dr. Mavhasa is saying. There's no democracy in Zimbabwe. People are being persecuted. Journalists are being persecuted. Ordinary citizens are being persecuted. Mr. Mnangagwa, if he's criticized, his default plan is to arrest, is to abduct, and even kill. And that shouldn't be happening in a free Zimbabwe. And going back to the 31st of March, I would want to urge Zimbabweans that if you are not doing it for the sake of Zimbabwe, do it for people like Blessed Mhlanga, because he is in jail today because of this issue. Let's do it for the corruption that we are seeing in Zimbabwe. Let's do it for the massive looting that we are seeing in Zimbabwe. So if you do not march on the 31st of March, it simply means you are supporting Mr. Mnangagwa to extend his term. If you do not march on the 31st of March, it simply means you want Mr. Mnangagwa to extend his term. And I'm telling you, that would be very bad. We don't have a choice, Zimbabweans. Let's go out in our millions, in our thousands, and march on the 31st of March. If the war veterans try to pull a fast one on us, like what they did in 2017, we will not leave the streets. We will continue to march. We will continue to protest until Zimbabwe is really free. I sincerely believe that the 31st of March is going to begin the independence of Zimbabwe. So I urge all Zimbabweans to come out in their thousands and march and ensure that Mr. Mnangagwa doesn't do what he is trying to do.
Okay, gentlemen, all that's left to say for me to you guys is thank you so much. Thank you for all your views and opinions, and thank you for the dialogue. You know, it's always great having you on this platform. And until we get you on the next shows, thank you so much, and have yourselves a lovely week ahead.
Thank you. Happy end of Sabbath. God bless you. God bless you.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, this is the vote right here on Galaxy Radio Flora. I gotta leave you, and we gotta give you more great music on this top station. My name is gonna be DJ Nyams, your top station. Keep it logged on.